said you did so much during your time in terms of what you fought for and what you achieved. What was the biggest barrier for you, as you were fighting for, equitable, whether it be monetary and attention as well?
Right. Probably the biggest barrier were other sports, other men's sports, who felt like they were about to lose because women were getting more teams and getting more equity. They felt like, well, why are we doing this? There aren't that many women that want to be in sports. Well, as soon as we did it, we found out there were a ton of women that wanted to be in sports. And I think that was the biggest barrier, was trying to convince all the different men's programs that, this is not going to take from you. This is something that always should have been there. Yeah. And it was never there. And so 1972 was when Title IX was enacted, but it really wasn't. I mean, it didn't govern anything, and nobody paid attention to it probably until started to pay attention in the 80s, but 90s a little bit more. And it really hasn't been until just seriously recently, in the probably between 2004, 5, 6, and now, that we've seen a much better representation, but we still aren't there yet. And as we saw with last year's NCAA tournament, here's your national governing body not making things equitable. And I don't blame the women's side for this at all. It was probably just the fact that they never even talked to each other, the men's side, women's side. And then all of a sudden we got cloistered in one city, and they got cloistered in one city. Then all of a sudden, these kids who talk to each other, men and women, whoa, the big differences were very, very evident. And even though we've all fought for those things over the years, we fought and fought and fought for, as soon as the men went to 68, we wanted to go to 68. We were told, no, you're not good enough to go to 68. So these were battles that were actually on the battlefield many, many years ago. It's just that we didn't have any way to fight it, because the actual schools are what fuel the NCAA, and they were going to do what they were going to do to promote what sports they felt they should be promoting. So yeah, we got to a point, they did it to a point, and then everything started to kind of slide backwards again, because some of the people that were really, really vocal about it have passed away, or they're no longer coaching. And so now we're seeing some people pick up the torch, and two of my players are picking up the torch because they knew what we were fighting for very early on, and they were taking a part in it back when they were players. So that's why I'm so proud of them, is that they aren't afraid, and they stepped up and made it happen. And and I think Rhode Island really was smart, because they would have lost Tammy.
Oh yeah.
And Tammy's just too good for not getting everything she needs to become competitive on a national level. And that's where she wants Rhode Island to go. So if you want it to go in that direction, then you have to provide her with what she needs. Dawn pretty much has a lot of what she needs, but Dawn needed to be compensated for what Dawn's doing, which is filling an arena every single time she walks into it to play a game. Many of those fans travel. She has ignited the state of South Carolina. Yeah. So, I mean, both of these coaches are extremely dynamic. They are very well spoken. They are two of the proudest members of our alumni from the University of Virginia. And I just can't say enough for what they've accomplished.
Yeah. No, I mean, early on, just seeing how she rebuilt the program, but just her character, how she presented herself. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious early on, she's a rock star and fits everything you need, to build a program. So I know, Rhode Island's extremely excited that we were able to invest. Exactly. And to your point about, when you're fighting about the money in the men's game, saying, it's going to take from us, I think it's pretty clear now there's plenty of money to go around.
There was always plenty of money to go around, but they didn't really want to do it.
Yeah.
Some didn't want to do it. I was fortunate to be at a school where we were willing to take a step and do some things that other people weren't willing to do. But it wasn't exactly early on in the fight. It wasn't way back in 1972. It was much later than that. It really wasn't until we started playing in Final Fours that somebody said, you know what? It was Mary Sue Terry, the lieutenant governor in the state government.
Okay.
She's an attorney, and she was in a box at one of the regional games and said, how much do we pay Debbie Ryan? And then she asked, and how much do we pay Jeff Jones? And then she said, oh, you better fix that.
Wow. That's what you need though, right? Yeah, I mean, that's what.
Well, yeah. I mean, she wasn't afraid to be vocal about it, and and that was really an unheard of time for equity in even in base salary. But we do a lot of promotion for our programs, and now we're seeing that universities are starting to give people compensation for all the time and effort, because it's taking away from your family time.
Yeah.
It's taking away from a personal life. And so I think the universities are now becoming far more diligent in this effort.